Let's go straight into Metasploit and see how to use it. I'll show you a real exploit on a vulnerable server. The hacker's machine will be Kali Linux, and the victim's machine, the Metasploitable VM, the one we've installed and set up in a previous lecture. These two machines are connected to the same NAT network, and we can check the network connection using ping. I'm logging into Metasploitable. And I'm running ifconfig on both VMs to see their IP addresses. This is 10.0.2.7 and this is 10.0.2.15. So ping 10.0.2.7 and it's working. And I'm pinging Kali as well. Great. In this lecture, I'll show you how a hack is performed from the beginning. The first step of an attack is called reconnaissance, which means collecting and discovering information about a system. So let's scan the target for vulnerabilities using Nmap, which is probably the most well-known network scanner. On Kali, I'm running as root Nmap minus capital A and the target's IP address. And the scan is done. Metasploitable has some intentional vulnerabilities. In a real case scenario, hackers will do the same. They will scan for vulnerabilities, and if there are any, they will try to exploit those vulnerabilities. The Nmap report shows important information about the services that are running, their version and vulnerabilities. And we see there are lots of vulnerabilities. Let's take the SSH server and search on Google for exploits for that version. And we notice there are some exploits available. Those exploits can be executed using Metasploit. Let's focus on VS-FTPD version 2.3.4, which seems vulnerable. This vulnerability will provide us with a root shell using a backdoor command execution. This means we'll have full root access to the vulnerable system. We can see information about the exploit. Now back to Metasploit, I'm starting the console by running msf console. It's starting. Once started, we can search for a vulnerability or for a service by name. I'm running search vs FTPD. And it has found an available exploit for vs FTPD, and to run it, we have to select the exploit. I'm running use and the path to that exploit. So exploit Unix FTP and vs FTPD 234 backdoor. I'm hitting enter. The exploit was selected, and the next step is to check the options required to run it. I'm running show options. We notice there are two options available, rhosts and rport. Rhosts is the target's or the victim's IP address. In this example, it will be the IP address of the Metasploitable VM. So set rhosts and the victim's IP address 10.0.2.7. The other option, rport, is the remote port on which FSTPD listens. The final step is to run the exploit. Run. It found a shell, opened a session, and the target was hacked. We have gained access to Metasploitable VM remotely. A shell has opened and allows us to fully control the machine. We own that machine and we are connected to it as root. I'm running some commands on Metasploitable, the hacked machine. You see here, this is its IP address. These commands are run on Metasploitable. I'm creating a file on the hacked machine. Okay, I've shown you how a system gets compromised. We've intentionally used a vulnerable machine in a lab environment, but the same could happen in a real-world scenario. We are taking a short break, and in the next lecture, we'll go over how to use MSF cancel.